Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video on AgilePoint's AI Control Tower. This video is going to focus on the runtime experience and how AgilePoint's control towers can improve the execution of an insurance claim process. But most importantly, this is yet another example of how the control tower can help AgilePoint customers safely and effectively operationalize AI, and how business subject matter experts have precise control over how AI can impact their processes without any sort of AI skills. Okay, so before we look at the details of the control tower, let's first understand the high-level process flow. So the process will start with a customer who's just been in an accident calling the 24/7 help desk, where our call center employee will take initial details around the accident. From there, it will flow back to the customer to supply additional supporting documentation. Think of things like details around the incident, as well as any images of the vehicle damage. Next, things will flow to a claims handler, where a determination will be made as to whether to involve the investigation team in the case of fraud. From claims assessor to a field officer to final claims approval. But as we mentioned, we have different control towers activated at various stages in the business process, and the first we're going to see very early on in the flow. Once the customer has uploaded images, our fraud detection control tower will make an assessment as to the likelihood for fraud and optimize the routing based on its findings. And then lastly, we have a recommendation engine based on the location of the incident and the customer, as well as the type of damage. We'll see a garage that is recommended to fix the damage. Okay, now as you may have seen in other videos, AgilePoint's AI control tower has the ability to determine the best next step in the business process. It can do so in multiple ways, where we bring a human in the loop to either accept or reject the suggestion that the control tower is making, as well as take an automated action. And the automated action is what you're going to see in our fraud detection scenario. As we mentioned earlier, the customer is going to upload an image of the damage to their vehicle. Our image classification control tower is going to analyze the image with multiple potential outcomes. One being that fraud is likely, and as a result, you're going to see the control tower skip the process down to the end, following the rejection path, where the claim will be denied and the customer will receive an email updating them with the current status. The other potential scenario is that additional due diligence is required. So as a result, you're going to see the control tower adapt the flow, skipping the process forward and involving the special investigation team. Now our second control tower is essentially a recommendation engine where we're going to assign the appropriate inspection personnel as well as the relevant garages. As I mentioned a slide back, our image classification engine is going to analyze the images that have been uploaded by the customer. First, our recommendation engine is going to select the optimal garage. This is going to be based on things like the location of the customer, as well as the type of damage the vehicle has sustained. And similarly, we're going to do the same thing with our field officer. So now that we have an understanding of how the control towers are going to operate in this process and adapt our flow, let's move over to AgilePoint to see this process in action. So before we run through the process itself, let's first take a look at our claims portal. Across the left-hand side, I have a context-sensitive menu, which is backed by permission, where certain functionalities may only be made available to given groups or roles within the organization. From a dashboarding perspective, this gives me complete visibility into all claims that are currently in flight, as well as those filed previously, with breakdowns based on type of injury, accident date, and things of that nature. So to kick things off, I'm going to play the role of a contact center employee where a customer of ours has recently called the 24/7 help desk because they've just been in an accident. So the first thing I want to do is bring up their policy by policy ID, which is going to give me details like the issue and expiry date, all of the vehicles that are insured under this policy, as well as the details of their coverage. Down below, I see the drivers insured under this policy, and notice that our driver, John Smith, is located in Burbank, which is going to come in during the garage recommendation stage of this process. To help save some time, I have an autofill button to populate the details of the accident. And as you're seeing here, this is also located in Burbank near the Warner Brothers studio. It indicates whether police or the fire department have been contacted, whether any injuries resulted due to the accident, as well as any relevant witnesses. Next, we have the details of the third party involved in the accident, including their vehicle make and model, as well as the description of the damage, witnesses, as well as any fatalities. Now, from a claims history perspective, we can see here that our driver, John Smith, has 7 claims made over the lifetime of their policy. And then lastly, under the additional tab, I can give some guidance to our customer as to what we're expecting from them. Okay, so with that, I'm going to relinquish the role of the contact center employee, and in just a second, I'm going to assume the role of our customer, where I'll receive an email and upload images as well as additional color around the details of the accident. So as we can see here, this is addressed to the customer. There is a new claim that has been opened against our policy, and if I can follow the link, I can attach additional context and images of the damage. Now, before I do that, I want to quickly show you the image that I'm going to upload. This is what's going to be fed into the control tower that handles image classification. So as you can see here, I have damage to the front of the vehicle as well as the headlight. Now in my case, I'm filling this in on my PC, but the same would be true if I had this on my mobile device, where I could use native camera image storage capabilities and attach the file here. Down below, a description of the accident. Go ahead and click Submit. And just so that we can follow along with the process from here, I'm going to open up our runtime visualizer. Okay, so this is going to give me a real-time view of what's happening in the process. So just to recap, a few moments back, we initiated a new claim as the role of a contact center employee. We've engaged our customer to supply images and additional description of the accident. But you'll notice that we've performed an ad hoc skip forward in the process from the claims handler stage to the investigation team. This is Control Tower 1, which is classifying our image and determining our routing. So now, if I were to go back to my task list, I'm going to assume the role of the special investigation team. So by refreshing my task list here, you're seeing there's now a task for the special investigation team. And at the top of our form, you're seeing the results of our image classification control tower. As shown in the image, there is both headlight and frontal damage. Now, as an investigator, I'm going to take an offline action to validate any fire or police reports. So I'm going to indicate that that's been done. And then here, given that insurance claims don't always follow the same straight-through processing, we have case management functionality, where we can determine the best next step in the process. Now, from my perspective, I'd like to send this to the assessor team for further processing. And if we go back to our tracker, we're going to see our process continue to light up. All right, so as you're seeing here, the task is now with the assessor team. So similarly, going to go back to my task list and refresh it and assume the role of the claims assessor. Now here, I can view all of the previously submitted information, including images, damage assessment, and the results of our investigation. But let's go ahead and skip forward to the Assessment Officer tab, where I will indicate that a physical inspection is required. And in so doing, you're seeing the results of our recommendation system, where it is suggested a garage based on location of the customer as well as the damage to the vehicle. All right, so next our recommendation engine is going to assign the appropriate field officer with relevant experience. So in just a second, we're going to see that task laid out. Okay, so navigating over to the Field Officer tab, I have an autofill button for all of the estimate details to repair the damage. So as you can see here, we have values for both parts, labor, and third-party payout. Next, we have a decision as to how the process moves forward. So in my case, I'm going to send this to the claims approver for further processing. And again, we'll see this task laid out. Okay, so that brings us to the claim approver stage. I'm going to autofill the actual values as opposed to the estimated values. So as you're seeing here, it's given me a sum of all of those values, less the deductible that the customer will pay. So as a result, I'm going to go ahead and approve this claim. Okay, so given that we've approved this particular claim, we're going to flow through to document control, and then an email will go out to our customer indicating that their claim has been approved. Okay, so this is our financial close here. As you're seeing here, has a summary of all of the payout information. And finally, we can close our claim. Okay, so in just a second, we're going to see an email notification go out to our customer. And in just a second, we should see that arrive. Okay, so here's the email that's gone out to our customer with all of the relevant details of the claim, including the claim ID and all of the relevant payout information. So with that, that's going to conclude this video on AgilePoint's AI Control Tower for insurance claims. I hope this now gives you a sense of just one of the many ways that AI can impact your business processes without the use of any sort of AI skills. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching.